Hey, performers, are you making regular updates to your show? Are you playing a show that sounds and looks and feels the same as it did a year ago? Same musical choices, same stage lights, same talking points that you're saying on stage, even maybe just the same venues that you're constantly only playing those venues. There's a good chance that your audience is starting to notice that something's starting to feel a little stale, and they might not even know what that is, but it has a lot to do with the fact that your show is looking and feeling and sounding the same. When is the last time you truly tried to reinvent your stage performance? I'm talking about reinventing everything about the way that you go about performing, the way you play your music, the way you present your show on stage, even the way it looks on stage. Today, we're going to talk about rethinking these things. And one of the best ways I can talk about this is, ironically, not from any kind of live performance, but from an experience I had at a car factory. Welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're helping you be the performer that you are meant to be. I'm Danny Robertson. Thanks for joining me again this week. Before we dive into all of this about the car factory, I do want to point out that if you are looking to dive deeper on bettering yourself as a performer, learning how to get better at public speaking, or maybe how to connect with your community better, creating an experience on stage that rivals the best touring acts out there, we can help you do that at Danny Robertson Music. Come check us out at DannyRobertsonMusic.com. That's where we can help you the best to help you become the performer that you are meant to be. So as we dive into this, I want to start by saying you and I need to get into the habit as musicians and as bands and as performers of rethinking all aspects of our show on a consistent basis. Many of us as musicians tend to get into this habit of falling into patterns. We rehearse the same songs in the same way. We practice transitions, and once we've learned them, we do them that way constantly. The things we say on stage tend to be done in the same way. Come see our band, check out our website, that kind of thing. A lot of the time, we're even doing things like using the same lighting. We set up our stage the exact same way. We even play the same venues constantly for years. Nothing really changes that considerably. And what happens is that this all starts to blur together for both us as the performers and our audience. That song that was really fun and exciting and edgy the first time we played it, 5 years down the line, it's not so exciting. It's not so edgy, and our audience receives it that way. So it becomes boring to them as well. So by constantly playing your music and doing your show the same way, you're not just standing still. You're slowly losing your edge. A good way that I can put it is that you need to look at your show like it's a creative product that is in constant need of innovation. Think of words like new, better, stronger, different, new sounds, different arrangements, stronger visuals, better ways to connect emotionally with your audience. Try to focus on growth, innovating, and reinventing. And think of it this way: if you're getting bored with your show, your audience is getting bored with it too. No more consistent patterns. The only pattern that you should have in your live show is the pattern of trying to reinvent yourself. Make that your routine. So the best example that I can show you of this is an experience that I had recently at a car factory of all things. I had the opportunity to go and visit the Ford Motor Company Rouge factory. Now, if you're not familiar with the Rouge factory, it was the first mass assembly line factory that Henry Ford created roughly about 100 years ago, maybe even more. The Ford Rouge factory has a long history of being innovative. It was the very first factory that had a moving assembly line. It's what made Ford Motor Company so successful in its early years. They were able to build cars faster, cheaper, and better quality because they were innovative at that point in time. So when I got to visit this Ford Rouge factory, one thing that I noticed was that this innovation has not stopped. They are more innovative than they've ever been. The factory itself is extremely well done. It's clean, and you can visit every single piece of it as a spectator, as a visitor. But the biggest surprise to me with all of this was not actually seeing the cars being built, which was very cool, by the way. There was an additional part of visiting this factory that made it much less of a tour and much more of an experience. And I want to specifically talk about the Manufacturing Innovation Theater. So, in order to better explain how Ford uses science, technology, engineering, art, and math to create the designs and builds of well known Ford vehicles like the F 150, they created the Manufacturing Innovation Theater. When you first walk into this, it looks like nothing special. And I think that was by design. The theater itself is designed to accommodate 50 to 100 people at a time. And it's a visual experience that is aimed at kids and school groups and students and things like that. It is very, very cool, but it's very, very minimal at the same time. They have essentially the outline of a Ford F-150 truck that is basically just looking like a piece of plastic that is completely white. There's nothing special to it. But once the presentation starts, there are all of these cameras and projection units and lasers and things like that that are designed to make it look like the Ford F-150 truck is being first built right in front of us, painted, and then driven on a real road. They even used things like big mechanical arms that appear like they are putting on doors to the truck and then bolting on pieces and things like that. And it made it look so stinking cool, while also at the same time showing the real process of the car being built in the Ford Rouge factory. And the thing that was really neat about it for me was not just that there were cool like laser effects and there were cool projections happening on the car, but there were things like when they made the car look like it was driving, the wheels were turning in a projection on the visual of the car, but at the same time, we were feeling fans blowing at us like we were feeling the wind from the car driving on the road. It was so neat and immersive, and it felt very, very real and exciting. But the biggest indicator that this was cool was not just that I enjoyed it. I was there with a field trip of a whole bunch of elementary school kids, and these are the ages of kids who don't think anything is cool on a tour like that. And yet all of these kids loved that part of the experience. It was very fresh. It was very exciting. There was an edge to it. And it really showed us all the hard work that Ford Motor Company does to make a really cool product. They put so much into their tour to make their tour experience so good that you want to buy a Ford car. And that is what we can learn from this as performers. You may or may not know this, but Henry Ford was also a very cultural man. He was not just into producing and being this great inventor and being this great businessman, but he was also very much into the arts. He loved music. The Henry Ford Museum has his own collection of Stradivarius violins that he collected over many years. He thought like a performer should, and he brought that thought process into the Ford Motor Company. Ford realized that they weren't just selling vehicles. They were selling an experience. At the Ford Rouge factory, they're not just trying to show how cars are being made. They're trying to get their visitors to feel something that personally connects them to the Ford Motor Company. As performers, we can do the same. When it comes to your show, I want you to reimagine some things. I want you to think about how your show flows. Do you run medleys or mashups? Do you have good transitions from one song to the next? Do you have the stage presence that helps that show flow even when the music is not playing? Do you have good pacing for your performance? Think about the different energies that are created in your show. What does the lighting do? Do you have any video screens? Do you create music that creates energy, or does it take energy away? Do you give your audience those memorable emotional moments that make them think about your show and talk about your show in the days, weeks, months, and years that follow? When you shift your mindset from I'm putting on a show to I'm creating an experience for a fan. If you think about how one fan will experience your live performance, it changes your mindset in the way that you approach the performance. It's not about presenting something. It's about creating something that brings people in. Once you really get that, everything changes and your audience will see that. The Ford Rouge factory, and more specifically, the Ford Motor Company as a whole, has lasted for more than a century, because of one key word: innovation. And if you want your performing career to grow and have staying power like that, then you need to think about that same word: innovation. So step back away from your show, think about it from the fan experience, rethink how you sound, rethink how you look, and rethink how you make your audience feel. So that's it for today. I want to thank you for sticking with me on this one. It was a fun and cool one to talk about. If you are interested in diving deeper in becoming the performer that you are meant to be, please come check me out at Danny Robertson Music. I'd love to help you further. I'd love to get you to that place where you feel really good about being a live entertainer, a performer, not just a musician, not just a singer, but a real solid performer. Let's get to work on that. Best of luck on reinventing your show, getting innovative, and playing some great performances. We'll see you soon. Take care.